Welcome everybody to Coach's Corner. I'm Coach Linden, this is
Amy.
And this is Coach Debbie.
And of course, we are here to simply discuss what happens in our space, what we see, what we feel, and help you change your relationship with food and fitness. If you like the video. Also share it with your loved ones. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification button so that way when you're ready, when you're prepared, you get to see all of our videos as they come out, okay? We've been free styling for a while, right? Mm-hmm. And I think it's worked really well. We've given out some real good information. But also, I was looking at it yesterday because I had some time. It's funny how when you spend more time being structured, you have more time. So I was actually looking directly at like some of the stuff we are creating and how to move things forward. We are heading into a new month, so I figured it might be best to describe, I think it's coordination.
Oh.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm gonna make sure, because normally the person who helps me remember these things is not here today. So it is on me to remember. So let me look really quickly and make sure I'm right. But I'm pretty sure we're heading into our month of, again, coordination, and I would like to discuss that as a group to really help ourselves help other people. Mm-hmm. And look, because we have the internet, let's do it. Let's look it up really quickly.
Definition of coordination.
Yeah, because I know how I think it
dictionary.
means. Hey, yeah. The organization of different elements of a complex body or activity so as to enable them to work effectively. Okay? So, ironically, there has been a lot of coordination around in this space alone.
Oh, yeah.
Both, I'm going to say positive in all lights, but maybe misdirected. Does that make sense? I think that okay, we can talk about it. We should talk about it both physically, mentally, and somewhat spiritually. Mm-hmm. Just because it'll help people to this is what it's for, right? We're here to tell you what we experience, share how we see things, and hopefully it helps you change your own life. So, Larry, we start with physical. Uh-huh. You want to talk about physically, like how you view coordination? The 7 questions.
Yeah.
Who, what, when, where, why, how, and I forget what the last one is right now. You can answer any of them.
I have no idea.
I'm just saying.
All right. I'm gonna do it like this.
Who's coordination?
Who is
why
coordination? It's me.
Where's coordination?
I'm Mr. Coordination. All right. I do.
Not actually wrong.
I do think I spend a lot of time with coordination. Like when it comes to dance, I think that's what I enjoy about like the learning process of dance is the coordination side of it.
Sure.
So like I got into footwork, I got into tutting, I got into a lot of those modalities because they required another level of coordination on like a small twitch muscle scale. So like finger tutting, like doing like weird things with your fingers or like weird tutting things in tandem, you know, is a good coordination thing, you know. Like we were just A skipping today. Like A skips, B skips, C skips are all different coordination styles, and I feel like I fly through those easily because I did a lot of that practice. A lot of the footwork stuff that we do in house, in rhythm in house, and even in Debbie Dance is coordination. Like I think a lot of people struggle with that because they just haven't had the practice in it. You know, like we had all those A skips this morning. That just felt like, you know, like, oh, I'm getting my heart rate up. Then I'm watching like some of the clients, it doesn't come natural at all. Like Kay got it down like the last one, you know, and
shout out to Kay.
Yeah, shouts out to Kay. I think that was interesting to watch is how it comes into the body, like even jump roping is a very like coordination based thing.
Very coordination based. Most people don't realize how the coordination is.
Absolutely. And I think having that mind body connection is important to longevity in the mind. So keeping your mind, your neuroplasticity up staves off Alzheimer's and like memory loss. It's just great with all that stuff. Like work your brain out.
Dance is so effective for that.
Yeah.
Like the studies have shown like dance is really effective for
Neuroplasticity.
Yeah, it's because there's so much coordination.
Facts.
Yeah.
And I'd actually like to emphasize, like, dance does work, but it's actually just play.
It is.
Like, if you really, like,
True.
boil it down how it all works together, play is the one thing that most adults are missing, and that's why their memory goes so bad, right? Like, and it could be, listen, you could play brain games all day on your phone, but there's something about engaging your entire body to do that same thing
Yeah.
that makes it different, and that's why dance is so great.
And I think interactive play
True.
is like
That's
a
all-
next
yeah.
level
That's
than
another
like
level of play
just
for
interacting with a screen is
Yes.
like much different than
Yes, right, and that's why like we talk about it all the time, and I tell people like, yo, we train, and some people think it's crazy when I say we train until they come in here and they're like, oh, training, or it is actually different in here, right? I feel like I'm back on my old sports team a little bit, but I'm also having a great time. And again, for some reason, a lot of people don't have positive experiences when it comes to team training.
Right.
So I think that is part of what people are experiencing. Do you have give one? You said dance.
Yeah.
Let's all give one thing we think coordination involves: full body coordination,
Full body coordination.
not dance.
All right, I'll go. I used
Testing
to-
your knowledge.
Before I got into dance, I did a lot of coordination stuff. So I started playing the drums. That's a lot of that's crazy coordination.
Sure.
Especially if you do kit at all. You got your foot stomping, you got the hi-hat and the snare here, and
Yeah,
your syncopated
boom,
rhythms.
boom, boom,
yeah.
boom,
Look at you.
boom,
All right.
boom,
I see
boom.
all right.
Okay.
I got rhythm.
Of course. I got rhythm. Right? Shit.
Yeah.
So I would say
Practice.
all of the things I did. Drum, I played tennis. Tennis was definitely a lot of coordination.
Fair.
Yeah.
And I did hurdling in high school. I think hurdles were, even still, like hurdling is a struggle for me, like coordination wise. It's just a lot of like running full speed, but also getting your steps in sync to be able to like catch the rhythm of jumping over a hurdle. And you're not jumping, you're bounding and dragging the leg through. It's crazy.
Fair.
Those are my examples.
What examples do you have?
Ooh, examples
You
that
like
aren't dance.
four.
That aren't dance. I do
Follow that. I could keep
a
going.
lot of dancing. Only because it's on my mind, maybe, because I was just talking to Carol. She asked me, like, oh, that took you a year to get your back like that. And I was like, well, actually, I grew up on a farm. And then I have my own landscaping company. I'm thinking of all the, like, I've actually always had a pretty strong back. Now
Yeah.
it's just really toned.
Right, it's showing,
But,
yeah.
like, now it is, like, more intentional.
Right.
But I think maybe manual labor, right? Like, even as a kid, like, I
No,
remember
that's
trying to,
solid.
like, whoops, that's my water. Getting to the point where I could throw
thought you
a
hit the
bag
I
on
thought,
my,
I thought I hit something imaginary. I was like, how did I?
turn the page. Sledgehammer. We got the sampler back here. But
Gotta make it
manual
work.
labor. I've done a lot of manual labor. You know, laying mulch, using a wheelbarrow, getting to the
Using
point
a
where I could
wheelbarrow.
pick up
That's a
a
solid
hay
one.
bale,
Yeah.
putting a bag of inslage, if anyone knows what that is, on my back to carry it, you know, to another barn. So I think I've always been working with my body.
Yeah.
And I think when you're a kid too, you're not really focused on building the coordination. You're just like focused
Doing.
on the goal,
Yeah.
right? And that kind of like lines up with it.
Fair.
So
Yeah, I would give the same one. I would just say play. A lot of the times, like we have clients in here who are close to the age of 80, and what you'll notice very quickly is that the older people are, the more time passes, the less they play. And when they get back to playing and enjoying the movement, you can see things shift from to I'm actually enjoying doing this. So I see the benefit. I'm gonna use Ivy as an example. Shout outs to Ivy. Ivy would say things like, you know, when she first came in here, she was walking with a cane. And then after a while, like you could see when she started to fall in love with play again, because she would see us do something and then she would try to replicate it at home. So the next time we did it, she was like, well, I've been practicing. And then she would do it, right? And to me, that's a child's curiosity, right? It's actually one of the things I admire about half the people in here is they come in with childlike attributes because the world tries to take those. So I love meeting people who actually keep that innocence in some way, shape, or form, because it inspires me to do the same. But play hands down for me. I actually wanted to, and again, I think it's important that we go over kind of like how those things work or how people view them. But even to me, spiritual coordination or physical is great, but mental and spiritual are even bigger. right? When I start to tie things up here, I start to be able to manifest them like in my body, right? And I will say, let's why don't we talk about a lesson you learned trying to mentally coordinate? Is that a fun one?
A lesson I've learned trying to mentally coordinate.
Yeah, like
All
trying
right.
to have coordination
I'll say,
with the mind.
Trying to coordinate with my mind, I feel like it is a practice of patience. It's a practice of like repetition. Like my mind wants to just do the thing over and over and get it a little bit better each time. And I think that's what I was explaining to Augie when he was here. He came to kickboxing class, which is all coordination. And I think it does start in the mind, like envisioning yourself doing the thing. And he got frustrated, right? And he like went to go sit down, and then I was like, he came back over and he was like, I just can't get it right. And I was like, listen, I want you to get it wrong. Get it wrong 100 times. In this one session, can you get it wrong 100 times? Just so you can get it wrong or get it right once. And I think that's important. It's like, if you get frustrated, you lose reps. You know, you lose mind reps the more frustrated you get. It's like, it's like, all right, if I do 1,000 reps, I will be a master at this thing. But if I get frustrated every time I do one rep, now in the time I could have done 1,000, I've only done 30. You know,
Fair.
and I think that's one of the lessons I learned is like patience is part of the gaining the neuroplasticity for
Totally.
coordination. It's like
100%.
Yeah.
you have to be patient with yourself. You have to have grace with yourself because there's a certain point that the mind reaches where, yeah, sometimes you got to set it down.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to leave and come back to it. Sometimes
stay
you
a
got to sleep
student.
on it.
Stay
Yeah.
a student.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's to be a student, not the master, right?
Yeah.
So solid. What you got?
Yeah, I'm to maybe piggyback.
Yeah.
Piggy bank off that. I think when I started learning West African dance, I had years of other dance training that was very different. So, like that frustration thing. But I think because of how dedicated I had been and how much I had studied, and I was like, I should be able to, walking away was actually really great for me. Like, or even just in my mind being like, it's okay that I don't get it today and I can mess it up that many times.
Yeah.
And realizing that it is a journey and not like an immediate arrival. Like, we're gonna do this thing and we're gonna be there, you know? Like, I'm trying to unlearn certain technique and relearn other technique, and my body is gonna go with what it knows, right?
That's
so
a fact.
recognizing
That's
that
a
I
fact.
do need time to like unlearn some other styles. I'm relating it to dance because that's the most
That's all good.
that I've done.
That's
but
fine. Yeah.
I tell that to people now when I'm teaching. If I'm teaching a West African dance class, it's like, start with your feet. Don't even think about your arms. Because if you're trying to do all of it at once and you're like, I don't even know what the beat is. I've never heard this music before. I'm confused. You know, I'm tripping over the floor. What are your arms doing? And I'm whipping like giving yourself whiplash maybe. And it's like, whoa, walk away from that.
Right.
Just look at the feet.
thing.
Start with the building blocks, you know?
Start
So I
from the
think
ground up. Facts.
getting your mind, right? Like realizing where you're at and being okay with that, right? A student, like a lifelong learner, I think it is, you know, some people really struggle with that, especially as we grow into roles of like adult, parent, teacher, right? Like as you attain these levels, you're like, it's great to see teachers that acknowledge that they don't know everything and that there are new things to learn and that they can be open to it. So
Yeah. It's a fun fact to think about. Like, I love the always remain a student metaphor, but what I really enjoy is watching people play with it, right? Like you know, a lot of people see me do things now and they'll be like, man, that's so amazing. I'm like, you have no idea how many times I didn't get this right.
Yeah.
It didn't feel good. Even doing it now, in my mind, I'm semi-critiquing how good it looks.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and you don't even know because you're so, like, that's so much further than where I am kind of deal talking to me. But it's fun when you start, when you know you're really being a student, right? When you stop asking those questions and you just try, right? It doesn't become be perfect, it becomes just try. When it becomes just try, then you get a chance to really see who you are, what you're made of, and also what you're giving out when you're doing it,
Yeah.
right?
And can I also say,
Yeah.
you said when you stop asking questions, I'd challenge and say when your questions transform
Into.
can I do that? Or from can I do that to what if?
Yeah, but that's stop asking questions. Like, I'm no longer asking myself if I can do it.
Yeah.
I'm now saying, I'll try it, right? Like, there's no longer, there's not a question anymore. I'm willing to fail because my question has now become okay.
Yeah.
It's
I'm
a
doing
surrender
it.
of sorts.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a surrender to the process. Like, a lot of people are afraid of processes, right? That's why a lot of people don't do things.
Yeah.
We had two ladies who literally could have came in and seen me and I could have helped them feel better in general, and they decided that they would rather stay home. One went so far as to go to a doctor and get an excuse and all the other stuff, and then came to see me and was like, oh, this is the best I felt in 4 days. Yeah, right? There's processes to the thing. Surrender to the process. Literally, you won't ask yourself if once you help that person 3 or 4 times, and all of a sudden they're gonna be like, well, if I go see Linda, he'll figure it out. Literally, like, that trust is just becomes part of it.
Yeah.
It's no longer the doubt. I think what you're referring to is part of the process of doing something outside of that thing.
It's the play.
Yeah, it is the play. Like, play is now the curiosity of, and that becomes something different.
Yeah.
But like, in general, there takes a certain level of confidence to do that, right? And again, if you're not confident, then you need to just find a process,
Yeah.
right? Like, finding the process is absolutely important. You think I knew how to do kettlebell swings when I started? I just woke up one day and I did them? No, I could show you terrible videos of me doing them and looking terrible, and being up at 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, just me, a kettlebell, in space, and I'm just trying to do it, right? Because again, I couldn't get here without the process, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's super important for a lot of people. Again, I didn't wake up coordinated, right? Again, a lot of stuff that you see me do, it wasn't like I just was like, man, this is my natural gift. My natural gift is strength, right? Not necessarily coordination, but I kept working at it to a point where it actually looks like it's one of my giftings, right? It's working your weakness.
And I think you spoke on confidence. I think that is where, like, the building of confidence comes from, because I look at, like, the skill sets that you have and the skill sets you have and the skill sets I have, and I look back and I'm like, yo, if I tried it the first time and got it right,
Would I be this
would
good?
I even have confidence around the thing? You know, I think it's the fact that I have spent like 100,000 hours dancing, you know, in front of a mirror by myself. Why I'm like, someone's like, hey, can you dance to this? I'm like, bruh, you know, like, I spent 100,000 hours. Like, there's the confidence
comes
right
from the
there.
practice.
It's like your kettlebell swinging. It's like, I spent time doing this, and I still do. And that's like, anyone who's frustrated about the process of like starting a new thing, just think about that. Like, whatever you're good at, how much time did you spend doing it, and how much confidence do you have around it? If someone were to come up and be like, hey, can you do this? You would be like, yeah, it's a no-brainer.
Right.
But it's based off, the only reason it's a no-brainer is because you know.
Right.
The work you put in.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
the time has been invested to create the what you do, like
Right.
whatever the thing is. And that's, again, I have to remind myself of that all the time. Every time I do something new, I have to remind myself that I'm not good at this because I've never done it, or I'm
Yeah.
not good at this because I haven't spent time doing it. That's important. And again, as you allow yourself, like, a lot of, just as a semi-segue, a lot of people always talk about grace, but then they only want to extend grace as far as they're comfortable, right? For themselves, not for
Yeah.
other people, just for themselves, right? You know, I literally, I'm gonna play with it a little bit and see if I can find some videos of how many times I failed. So you've seen like the laughing, right?
Yeah.
It's because I became like curious about movement. I used to get really frustrated. Like, I used to get angry. Like, people would be like, yo, you gotta be like, yo, just don't fucking talk to me. Like, let me figure it out. Like, that's my mind still trying to do it, but it was a frustration there. Then after a while, I'd be like, oh, and I'd just start laughing. And everyone's like, why do you laugh when it gets harder? Because I'm
having
literally having a good time,
Yeah.
right? I'm seeing what my body is capable of, and watching how, like, wow, all this work I've put in, I'm thankful for. So my laugh is more of a gratitude laugh than it is a like I'm insane.
I like that. Maybe it's both.
I mean, I'm insane to a world who doesn't understand gratitude.
Facts.
So cool
Yeah,
with that. I'm cool with
true.
that.
Facts.
That's one of those things where I'm like, whatever. Like, because again, you can't control people. Spiritually, this is the one. I don't even know how much
tough.
time we have left.
We got it.
But this is the one where normally people miss the mark, right? What does it mean to be coordinated spiritually?
To me, it means a few things. It just means being present, enough to be aligned and receive what's there.
Got it. That's. I was like, what? And then you said that. I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
yeah, that's fair.
Like I think that's a hard thing. I think society takes you out of alignment so quickly, so many times throughout your day, and it's like a constant struggle for you to stay present, and like be like you can't find gratitude if you're living in the past, if you're anxious about the future. There's like no gratitude there because those aren't the current moment, which is reality, which is the only thing that's affecting anyone, and like the more you like tune into like self in the present moment, the more you're like, oh, I'm vibrating at this frequency that everyone else is resonating with, and that's powerful. And as soon as you like think about the past, think about the future, you're no longer aware of like how your power and like how you're coordinating with others.
How you're moving.
Yeah, how you're moving.
How you're
Yeah.
literally moving.
Yeah.
You become unaware of your own movement.
Yeah. That's
true.
And then you want people to like give you grace as you do so. And ironically, what kind of happens there when you're asking for grace, if you don't realign, now it's just everyone else falling out of purpose to
Yeah.
pursue you, right? So if you're with people who kind of understand themselves, they'll stop. They'll be like, no, this isn't the path for me. And that's hard to hear, right? Because then you're forced to make a choice, especially if you operate in trauma sometimes,
Yeah.
right? Like trauma will have you, you will choose the path of least resistance. And most people's traumatic paths that they've chose have been in like urgency to protect self or urgency to let's say, repel, right? So you're not really pulling together. You're not becoming present when you're repelling. You're getting away from what's happening, right?
And I think a big spiritual thing, the video I showed you of the tree, guy talking about the tree, at the very end of the video, he said truth is, well, I don't remember the words. He said, truth is like,
Oh, simple. It's the lies that are complicated.
yeah, but
right?
he said also
Something like
truth
that.
is like reaffirming, or truth affirms itself, or something like that. And I really liked the way that he said that. He was like, no matter where you're seeking truth, you're then affirming truth in the present moment for everything else, because it's all connected. And I have always thought that way. I've always thought that way, right? And him saying that, I think, made me emboldened to like change my speech going forward. This just happened yesterday. So like even this morning, we were in space, and it was Kay, Bryn, and who else was there? Sasha. And Kay was like, I've been working out so much. I had that clown thing. I'm dead tired. I didn't know if I wanted to come in this morning because I didn't know if I'd be able to do work like we did on Friday. And I was like, funny thing you say that, Kay, is that we, our tribe, we, our community, we see each other every week. Our nervous systems are connected. If you're feeling that way, chances are it's in the ethos, it's in the community, and we're all feeling that way, which means the work that you come in and do is going to be appropriate to how you're feeling because you're plugged in and you're not staying home. And Bryn was like, oh, I'm so glad you said that, and like went off on another tangent about like how that was connected to that.
Intention.
Yeah, and then Sasha and I was like, that is, to me, that's the spiritual coordination. It's like you're riding the flow and it's in the present moment, and when you speak to it, other people hop on the wave because it's like, of course, like that's the only truth. Everything else is complicated, but that's the truth.
Truth is simple. It is freeing. It is literally calling things as you see them.
Yeah.
Right? It is not, it doesn't worry about how you feel about what it says. It just speaks the truth.
Yeah.
Right? And if you're aligned, the truth does not bother you. The truth challenges you. But it doesn't make you, it makes your fear become a challenge, not a fear and repel. And a lot of times what happens when people hear truth is they repel. But this is why, if in this space as a leader, and you're clearly speaking to your own ability to do this, Like, I am telling same stories different ways. It's not changing, right? This is what happened to me. This is how it affected me. This is what I learned. That's what I'm sharing, right? Even when you're saying that, like, you're saying your own version of that, but you've watched me say that so many different times, but that was the way you view it, which still tied to the truth. That's how it does work, 100%. A lot of people are telling themselves falsities because of fear. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right? And again, to dispel falsity is the name of the game here. That's what we do. I don't care if you only watch the front desk. Like, most of the time, hey, are you okay? Oh yeah, I'm fine. I didn't ask you if you're okay because you're fine.
Yeah.
I asked you if you're okay because I noticed.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right?
We both understand. Absolutely. Yep. Get that every day. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Every single day you're
And I think that's why I used to do that. And I think it's hard sometimes to remember that, like, the people aren't just placating you, you know, like the people who you see every week, especially us, you know, coming in and seeing us every week, like, we do care. That's why I show up. You know, like, I was talking to my moms. I'm like, yo, I wouldn't show up if it wasn't for y'all. Like, I literally would not show up for myself if I was like, hey, Dev, for your own benefit, you got to be there at 5. I'd be like, yo, it's 5:30. I should start getting ready. Like, for real. But if you're like, yo, they going to be there at 5, I'll be like, shit, it's 4. I should start getting ready.
Right.
And that's, like, important. It's like, we do care. I know I care. I know Lynn cares. And when I say, hey, how was your weekend? And you say, meh. Or you say, it was good. Or you say, it was okay. Or you say, didn't do much. It's like, that may be your truth, but actually I'm asking to start a conversation, you know? I'm asking because I asked you last week, you know, and I want to know how it's progressed. You know, I want to know how your relationships are doing. I want to know how you're feeling about the weekend. Like, that lets me know where you're at, and then we can go forward, you know? And I try to do the same thing when, you know, people come in and they ask me how my weekend was.
Yeah.
I'm like, let me not just give you, oh, it was good. Or, you know, let me tell you, all right, my son was in town, it was lit, you know, we did this, we did that. And, you know, overall, it doesn't have to be much. It just needs to be true, you know?
Yeah.
A lot of the time people are just, oh, that's a placation
Placate.
question. And
Yeah.
I'm just going to say, okay,
When they
and
play
keep
quake.
it moving.
When they equate with the play.
Quakeation.
Yeah. Fair, very fair stuff.
I think I don't have much experience in a gym setting or
I was
personal
like, telling the
training.
truth? I was about to be like,
thought
and this is
Lies!
over.
Everything
This is
I said are
over.
I was about
lies.
to be like, on the spiritual coordination? I was like, nah.
I don't know if
it's
that's
like,
true.
I think just based on what you're talking, so like I said, I've never done personal training before, so like, Lynn's my trainer.
But you have personal trained
But
in dance.
Yeah, so all I'm hearing though is we're talking about coordination, and it's like mental, physical, and spiritual. And a check-in here is like all of those things, not just physical. And I don't know if that's the norm. I'm guessing it's not, right? When you go to another space and you're like, I'm here to train, and they're like, great, how's your body feel?
They're like,
Yeah.
here's your meal plan. Did you follow it? And you're like, nah. It's like, why? What about our macros? Like, they do actually
Yeah.
stick with just the physical and a lot of things. But obviously, there might be some talk of the mental because you didn't stick to the thing.
Right, but
that is
how
usually
much
as
are
far
they
as it goes.
addressing that? It's
No.
just like, well, you fucked up, so better
And how
luck
much
next
are they
week. You
addressing
know,
the
like,
spiritual?
why did you do that? Like, because they are all connected. So
Super
maybe there's
connected.
like
Right.
all that, like the coordination here. You're looking at it as a whole because your body is more than just muscles, right?
Yeah.
It's more
Oh,
than
yeah.
just what it can do.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
how it feels and how you feel and how maybe connected you feel, or, you know, if you're feeling disconnected, if you got a spiritual deficit, I love that phrase now.
That's a good phrase.
But you know what I mean? So I think that difference here feels like you do want to know how your weekend was.
Yeah.
It's important.
Or how last week was. Was it garbage? You know, like, yeah, it was real bad and I had a really hard time, like, getting here. I had a really hard time eating well. I had a hard time like not speaking negatively about myself. Like that stuff is real. It's not
Fair.
like it was good.
It
was fine.
It's funny. It's funny to hear you say that because of how like it's something I realized that I didn't realize before. I didn't realize that I was just showing a father's heart, like in everything that I do, right? Like mom makes you feel real good. She cooks you the meals. She sits you down. She goes, you know, she wants you to talk, right? Dad's just like doesn't say anything, but he watches everything. You need your car fixed. Dad shows up and fixes your car, right? Like the experience of having someone who is a person who cares in a way that doesn't need words is literally what you see from a father's heart, right? And I've done that so many times for the people in my life. So I like when I watch how like even how you're developing into caring for people. That's why I said you're like giving fatherly advice. I don't even think you noticed it yet that it's wisdom. It's not you're giving things from experience, and it's not this heady. Like I read a book once that said a thing. No, it's like I experienced this, or I heard this, saw this, and this is how it ties to what I have experienced. That's wise, right? And a lot of that, like I emphasize that because when you speak from wise space, it then creates a different feel for the people listening.
Yeah.
Because everything is connected, right? If everything's connected, then as I tell you, I don't tell you how terrible my childhood was. I tell you what I experienced in my childhood and what I learned from it, right? That becomes the lesson that you resonate with.
Yeah.
I could tell you how bad it was, but that doesn't necessarily help you, right? I don't complain about how poor my childhood was. That's why we've talked about this. Mama Yoga told me to let go of that past stuff so I could move forward,
Yeah.
right? And a lot of people need to move forward. There's too much being stuck in the past. If you don't spiritually coordinate your mind, body, and spirit with your present self, then you miss everything that's happening around you. And you start to do things that don't line up with who you're trying to manifest in the present moment. That's what you're experiencing.
Yeah.
So I like to think of it like that. If you're not lined up, you're not lined up because, again, you're not present, right? And again, we could go into details as to what that is, but I think for the average person, again, if you're wondering why you're struggling, maybe you just need some simple truth to yourself, right? Like not to us. We're just catalysts for your own personal truth, right? So if you lie to me, my day goes forward, right? Your lie doesn't define my experience in my life, but it will affect my experience with you
Yeah.
for sure. But it won't affect what I'm doing for myself,
Right.
right? But that is the thing. I watch so many people wanting to be connected, but they won't even be present. You can't be connected from the future. You really can't. It sounds crazy, right?
Just
When you
got
say
back
it-
from the
when you say
future,
it like
guys.
that, you'd be like, 2 years ago we were best friends. Like no one, you get what I'm saying? If you say that, it's like, okay, I knew you at a time frame, especially if I'm a different person, right?
Yeah.
Now imagine someone walked up to you and said 20 years from now, we're gonna be the bestest friends ever. You're gonna look at them like,
Do I know you?
cool? It's a weird thing to say to
Yeah.
me randomly, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And they might have they might really believe this is happening, right? But if you don't do the actions now
In the
to
present.
create connection,
Yeah.
then what you said has no value to me. You get what I'm saying? It's so that I think that is super important because the average person doesn't realize that being present is a present, right? It
Yeah.
literally is. That's so it's that stuff for me.
I like
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I like that as a trainer we get to see so many people on a daily.
So many different
'cause
walks.
Then you do get to you can't avoid seeing the connection.
If you're present, how much gratitude do you have?
All
It's
of
it's
it.
an insane amount.
Overflowing.
It's an
too much.
insane
I
amount.
like
right?
it's funny because like if you really sit in the present, I think that's when it becomes overwhelming. You
How
know?
much gratitude you have, or
Yeah,
just
like when you
overwhelming
really
in
sit
general?
and think in the present,
yeah,
and
yeah.
like right now, I can kind of like just have this conversation.
Yeah.
But if I were to sit here and like really take stock in the present moment, I'd
Yep.
like start to cry. Like it's
because of all
Same.
the things you do have.
like
Right?
immediately start to cry,
Yeah.
and that's a hard thing to do. If like I wasn't always able to do that. I think I spent a lot of time in the future, to be real.
I think a lot of when you don't have what you want, I think a lot of that times people are wondering like how to change, and that like but you realize only by making present decisions can you actually go towards the
Create
things you
change, right.
actually want, right?
Yeah.
So you can want better all day, but if your actions don't match, let's say, the person you want to be, it's going to be very hard for you to be that person,
Yeah.
right? Impossible even. So a lot of the times, you know, when I hear people state a thing, that's why we're talking about, and that's why coordination does go across the board for us, right? So if you are struggling with being coordinated in your fitness journey in general, that's exactly what we're here for. We help people change their relationship with food and fitness by giving them the tools that they need across the board. So we are going to end here. We're probably going to continue to talk off camera, but
Yeah.
we're going to continue. We're going to end here because, again, we don't want to run over our time, and we want you to get what you're supposed to get out of this stuff. So thank you so much for joining us. You can reach out to us on www.gettingitdaily.com. You can also find us on social media at Getting It Daily, both on Facebook and Instagram. Also, again, we have an announcement board that we're going to be working on for different things. I'm going to put this in our video because this goes out. This does go out. We are not going to be on Friday, here on Friday.
Friday night classes
And
are
I
canceled.
will be announcing that all Friday classes for the evening will be canceled.
Yep.
There will be nothing in the evening because we are going to support a member of our community who we love dearly, and we want everyone to do the same. So if you're here on Friday nights, just because we're not having class doesn't mean you shouldn't go. That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. Still book up that night and go support a member of your community who's worked so hard on this project. I'm hoping she'll start sharing more glimpses so we can highlight those glimpses so people can really see how big this is.
Yeah.
Right? Because this is a huge thing for her. And I would love to
Massive.
support everything that comes from it. Yes?
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So again, thank you so much, guys. Until next time, this is Coach Linden
This is Amy.
And Coach Debbie here.
signing out.
Peace. Get my apple.